neighborhoods. So I look over here. We have, of course, we're here in Prescott. We have Tonewood that is already a developed neighborhood, but it is still not finished. Those students are currently designated to Prescott School. And now we have the new Fenwick, which is there's very few students living there, but it's beginning. There's a lot of development happening there. And of course, we have Easton that is yet undeveloped, but that has the city of Spruce Grove has on the books a lot of houses coming in here. So like I said before, when we look beyond 10 years and when we're planning for a school division, we actually do need to plan 10, 20 years, because to request a new school, to get approved for a new school, is not a fast process. If we were to, if the board approves a capital request requesting a new school in this area, we might be looking in a decade type scenario before we would see it, because of course you have to wait for the housing to come. It is us, we have to request from the city of Spruce Grove land to build a school on. So it's not an immediate. So we do need to look at the what if. So yes, we are requesting a new school, but in the meantime, as Scott outlined, if those houses, so even if there's 5 next year, 10 the next year, 20 the next year, and if those houses have children, currently, if they come to Prescott, we actually, well, next year we're already over 100% capacity. And so we recognize that there's that continuing growth. And so the idea would be is to take these areas and redesignate students in Tonewood, potentially students from Tonewood and these newly developed areas, and they would be designated to Woodhaven School. Woodhaven just completed its renovation. Beautiful school, and has a lot of capacity. Of course, in every city center, what happens is you start with Woodhaven at one time was in the middle, or was the primary school. As we build suburbs, the interior of cities get less densely populated. You get older populations. You have dropping student enrollment. We now have surplus capacity at Woodhaven, and it's very important for us to fill that. As I indicated, whenever we're requesting schools, if you have empty schools, it's much harder to get capital projects approved. So go ahead. So yeah, you can skip over this. We're not, we can't look at sending Parkland Village students to Greystone. Greystone is actually, it would move it up to 100% capacity or very close to. And then recommendation K, just really quickly, Jordy, go to the, this is requesting the new school in Tonewood. So with that, I think we've hit the highlights. Just let me look at my notes. We're so used to now doing presentations online. I said to Shauna before, when I'm doing online presentations, this is our first one in like 2 years. I've kind of forgotten how to talk to people. But when I'm doing it online, I got different computer screens with all the numbers. So just this is just what you see up here. These are the areas we're talking about. These areas, like we've said, this is a massive growth area. Scott, do you remember the number of housing units in this area?
I remember the number of kids. It's all built out. It's 1,380.
Yeah. So if we were, and again, when we say build out, this is not in the next 5 years. This is over the, this could be a decade-long process. But once that area is fully built out, and as Shauna said, Spruce Grove is one of the fastest growing cities in Alberta. In fact, it's one of the fastest growing in Canada. And because of that, when we have 1,000 new students living in that area, we do not have the capacity in our existing Spruce Grove school infrastructure to fit those students. And so we are looking at a new school in that area. So just the first question, and many of you are thinking it since we started, is I have kids right now. I have kids that are, maybe I live in Tonewood and my students are attending Prescott. So what happens to those students? Do we allow those students to stay at Prescott and any new students in the area? So we want to address this right off the top. So of course, do you allow students that are currently at Prescott stay at Prescott? Do you look at certain grade staying? So do you, for instance, as an example, say students that are in junior high are allowed to finish their time at Prescott, and meanwhile anyone that's lower gets shifted to Brookwood and Woodhaven? Do you allow, people to, stay in Prescott but not be provided access to busing? Do you, allow everyone to stay and all new families? So do you only look at new families? So you allow people to finish out their entire schooling? Of course, these come with considerations. If there's additional busing required, so if you're busing to two different neighborhoods, for instance, so for Parkland Village, if we're busing students to both Woodhaven and to Prescott, of course, you would look at an increase in busing costs, if that makes sense. These are all big questions. We look forward to the individual conversations, the smaller group conversations. Understand that we do recognize that if we do ask students to shift schools in 2023, that's a hard thing. We know that students shifting schools, they have friend groups, and understand that's why we are invested in meeting with people and sharing information and hearing, because we do recognize that concern that parents have. So with that, Jordy, I think we go to the last slide. So the next steps, you will be getting a survey. It will be sent to all Prescott school students. We will, of course, make sure that those in particular in the affected areas, there is a way to designate, someone that isn't impacted. Maybe they live in Greenbury and they're not being impacted. Of course, we would recognize in the survey that someone that lives in Tonewood or Parkland Village area that, of course, has a larger stake in the game because your children are directly impacted. There's a way to indicate that. So it is not a vote. It's not a survey saying yes or no. It's asking for feedback. And it is part of the package that we bring back to the board with the information. So that survey will be coming out by tomorrow, close the day tomorrow. And then following that, we continue to collect information. We will be putting together a very comprehensive report. It will address all of the questions that are either posed here tonight in our groups or that are emailed to the board. So Jordy, if you can put up the next slide. So again, you will have an opportunity tonight to share your views, your thoughts. We will break into two groups. Jordy, I'm looking. Yep, very good. We'll break into two groups. We'll just stay in here. We'll kind of go one half with some parents, trustees, and administration, and then we'll hear from some parents. But there's also the opportunity to email in any of your questions or concerns. Never underestimate the power of the written word. And so if you would like to put some thoughts to a keyboard, pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, please send in those thoughts. And we are trying to answer all the questions. If there's questions that emerge from communities or from these dialogues with parents, we will endeavor to answer all those questions in the report when it comes to the board. We will also commit to coming back out and sharing that information, whether that be in an electronic format or an in-person format. Once we have some information, we will be sharing that information in some way. So with that, what we'll do is we have so 1, 2, 3. So what we'll do is we'll just go with these parents, 1, 2, 3, 4, and back there, 5. We'll get you guys to come over here, and Scott will facilitate over here. And then everyone else, all the other parents, you guys can actually kind of stay there. And we will come over, and then Shauna and myself will facilitate over here. And Esther. Whenever I do this, I make someone else take notes because I'm notorious for not writing down what I hear. Okay, so we're going to have as much time as needed, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Trustees, you can move into a group. There's no assigned seating, and listen to the conversation.
you want me to come that way? Whatever you're comfortable. I'll come over there. I'm just taking.
It's always nice to know where people are from and where.
You want to switch? I don't mind.
Mine are 21 and 23. Parkland School District's no longer in school.
So this is just actually an opportunity, we have, I think, five, really, that's got a associate superintendent, it's all health services.